So Sunday sessions, for you guys here especially to understand what Sunday sessions are about, because I believe this group's going to grow and grow fast, because it really is. Sunday sessions are about empowering people to be all that they can be. The main focus of Sunday sessions is to give people an experience of being connected to Spirit. So one could say it's probably a little bit like how we define church, but I don't like to use that term. For the simple reason here, there's no dogma, there is no religion, there is no rules, there are no conditions, and there is no judgment. So whatever your interpretation of Spirit is, whatever message that you receive, it's up to you to do with that what you will. All I am is the vessel to share with you the wisdom that's been imparted to me as I've grown in life, and also the wisdom that comes to me through these sessions as well. So that's what Sunday sessions are about. It's about bringing transformation, about bringing life to people. I'd like to read you something that Buddha actually said, which I think sums up for me partly what Sunday sessions are all about, but also how I would like you guys to take what I share with you. And Buddha actually said, believe nothing, no matter where you read it or who said it, no matter if I have said it, unless it agrees with your own reason and your own common sense. Excuse me. So I'm a big believer in that. We spend our lives listening to other people, listening to people who are in positions of what we perceive as to be power, like religious leaders, church leaders, government leaders, or anybody that even has a higher education than we do, and we think they know it all. So we believe whatever we're told. But again, Sunday sessions are about getting you connected to Spirit so you can determine what's true for you. On that note, whatever modalities that you've come with here today, I actually ask you to leave them aside. Not that they're right or wrong, it's just another modality. But if you can leave that aside, you can place yourself in a position to receive new wisdom and receive new life. Might even line up exactly with what you've been taught in the past. But if you can put those aside and just choose, literally choose to receive whatever comes through for you today. So the one thing that I will be doing is working with a lot of premises, and premises are nothing more than a working assumption. Does everybody understand that? A premise is just an idea or a thought that works. It's a working assumption. A lot of what I share with you, because a lot of it is from Spirit and about Spirit, I can't prove it. I can give you an experience of it. I can lead you there, but I can't prove it. It's that simple. So I will be working with a lot of premises. A few quick questions for you. I am a gay man who loves God. I hope that doesn't bother any of you. My style might be a little bit irreverent at times, but I do like to have fun and have a good laugh. So I do hope that that's okay. And at the end, I do want to show you how to get more information and share with you my website and a few other details about the House of Three as well. So today's subject is understanding the dimensions of you. The dimensions of you are such an important thing to understand, because without them, you simply don't have a balance in life. You simply don't have direction in life. You simply don't feel connected in life. So understanding the parts that make you you is so important. Without that understanding, as I just said, it's disconnection, isolation, frustration, anger, anxiety, not being able to relate to other people, actually feeling worthless, feeling incapable, not feeling empowered, running around like a chook with your head cut off. they're being disconnected from who you truly are, and understanding those dimensions leaves you in a place that's powerless. And my personal belief is the majority of us are running around in that state. So moving forward with understanding those dimensions, which we'll go into in a little bit more detail in a moment, it brings life, it brings transformation, it brings connection, not only to others, but it brings connection to Spirit, and it is about it being connected to the truth of who you really are, which is just so incredibly empowering, because I would love to see everybody, including myself, grow in living a life that I love. On that note, what do I believe love is? Nothing more than a force that brings life. I want life, and I want life more abundantly. If we look at some of the older teachers, like Jesus Christ, for example, I've come to give you life and give you life more abundantly. Well, I want an abundant life. That's what I'm going for. So, moving on from that, what is it that we need to understand and learn? So today what I'd like to share with you, to start off with, I love drawing pictures, so you'll have to forgive me, but it's the creative part of me. This is a circle that I draw for a lot of my clients when they come to me at first. Sorry?
There's always happy people about pictures.
Yeah, people generally love pictures. All we've got to do is look outside, it's one big picture. So if we look at this circle represents the universe, or universes, everything we know. So this circle represents all the universes. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
We don't have one universe, we have many universes. We all agree with that? Yep, cool. So there's Earth, a little tiny circle within that big circle, and this tiny little speck here is you as a separate entity. So how insignificant are you as a separate entity? And this is where Sunday sessions come into play, because what I want to show you and share with you is how connected to Spirit you are. Now, Spirit, you can define it as the collective consciousness, you can define it as God. It doesn't matter what your definition is. You remove your definitions and just receive what I'm sharing, you'll get it straight away. So this tiny little insignificant speck that you are as a separate entity is actually a part of all this creation. Now, if we don't know that, we're living a very separate, insignificant life. As soon as you realise that you're actually a part of all of that, that's when the power comes. Why? You're not running this race alone. You're not on your own. You've got the support of the universe. What does that require? All it requires is a connection to Spirit. Or we could even term it a connection to love, a connection to God, a connection to the collective consciousness, whatever label you want to choose on it. But when you're connected in that state, you will automatically want to bring life to others and to yourself and to all of creation. And that's where the power lies. So again, you can see that if you don't have this understanding, and this understanding goes so far beyond the mental mind. You can't get this with your head, so don't try. Just look at it and absorb it. Because if you try to work it out, you'll never get there. On that note, let me also make this comment. Do you really think that with a few vowels and a handful of consonants and the English language, that we can actually use those words to describe the universe? Or God? Or what Spirit is? So what I'm sharing with you today goes beyond natural understanding. You won't get this with your head. You'll get it with your soul. And when you get it with your soul, you can then use it in your head. But it doesn't work the other way around, which we'll go in more detail later on. But this is just such a powerful diagram when someone's feeling lonely, making them understand what they are connected to. Because the loneliness is only a delusion. But we'll go into that in a little bit more detail later. Does everybody understand that? No questions on that one? Poor banana. Can't remember the amount of times I've drawn that drawing. I really experienced that experience of being connected to all things through all time and space many times through my life. One of the times that I remember so incredibly vividly, I was around about 8 or 9 years old, and life situations or circumstances wasn't great, and I wanted out. I simply just wanted out of living. So I grabbed a knife, locked myself in my bedroom cupboard, and which was obviously completely dark, and I basically just put it on the line, and I went, all right, God, if you don't show yourself now, I'm out of here. I can't do this on my own. And I tangibly felt 2 arms wrap around me. It was the most incredible experience I've ever had. I then knew that there was more to this life than just me and the world as I saw it. There was a spiritual side to life that I needed to learn about and grow in. Because I felt that love, that presence, should I choose it to call it the love of God, that's what I felt, and I just knew that there was more to my life than met the eye. So I didn't do myself in because I'm here today. But that was just one of many experiences that I have had that have just shown me there is so much more.
So this was 8.
I was around about 8 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. The reason for that, going into it briefly, my father, or so-called father at that stage, I didn't realise that he was my stepfather, didn't really have a lot of interaction with the children. I was the eldest, and I assisted my mother in running the household. And being a bit of a perfectionist, no one was doing as they were told, and if I didn't do what I needed to do, I'd get in trouble as well. So all my works and all my actions and everything that I was doing was just causing me so much stress and anxiety, because I needed to do those things and be a particular way to be viable in the world. But then in that particular situation, I realised regardless of who I was, Spirit or God was there and loves me. It was just so tangible, so incredibly tangible. And that's just one of many, many experiences that I could share with you guys about how I've personally experienced Spirit. It's been very, very real in my life.
The image you did before about showing the dot, the single, the singular, and then the joining together.
Yes.
Have you felt like that? Is that something?
Absolutely. Well, if
you felt totally disconnected, and totally separate, and totally by yourself, and totally alone.
Absolutely. If we go back to that diagram with the 2 circles and then the speck, which is me, I felt completely separate and isolated.
And several times throughout your life?
Many times throughout my life. Many times throughout my life. The revelations that I stand with here today, the major epiphanies in my life happened at the age of 33. Mm-hmm. And mind you, I've just shared one with you as to when I was 8 years old. But they were little steps that got me to where I was. When I was 33, I had the major epiphany. But even at 8, because of that connection to Spirit that I had, which I have to say I'm actually grateful for religion that brought me that connection, although I believe the connection that I was told about was a half-truth. At 8 years of age, I began to see that there was a lot more to it. So when I felt the presence of Spirit, that's when I realised there's something outside of myself that's a hell of a lot bigger. Some people like to call it the Force. And this is where I come back to, it's not about labels, it's not about definitions, it's not about what someone chooses to call it. Jesus Christ, God, Father. Mind you, in my book, my God doesn't have a willy. But anyway, that's another story. Or if we call it Spirit or the collective consciousness. And again, this is for another Sunday session. But in short, we are here having a separate experience. The key is having a separate experience whilst understanding and knowing that you are actually connected to all things through all time and space, or that you are connected and a part of Spirit. Therein lies the secret. And it's quite a big revelation to get and to understand, but I find that diagram helps. Because when we do have low times, and I'm human, there are still times, mind you, they're very far and few between these days, and they normally only last about 5 minutes because of how I've grown in this understanding. That I feel separate, I feel alone, I feel that nobody loves me, everybody hates me, I think I'll go and eat worms, and that the world is against me. And then I go, well, hang on a minute, I've just listened to that dialogue that runs through my head, and I now know more than that. So letting go of those thoughts and those feelings and going back into that connection to Spirit, I instantaneously feel that connection. I instantaneously feel that love, and I instantaneously feel that support.
Well, it's how you see yourself as well, isn't it?
How do you make that decision though?
To be connected to Spirit.
Yeah, how do you make that decision to go, oh, well, hold on, I know more than that. Is it just a knowledge-based thing, or is it a...
No, it's actually something that requires exercise. It's a bit like going to the gym. When you start going to the gym, it hurts like hell and you really don't want to go, but the more that you persevere with it and you keep that discipline, the reward is there. Being connected to Spirit is a relationship. A relationship's a two-way street. You actually need to be active and take action towards making that relationship with Spirit grow. So It's about, for example, what I do is I have got choices that I make on a daily basis. I've got definitions that I define myself with on a daily basis. Now, I define myself as a man that walks with Spirit. Spirit walks with me. Therefore, the wisdom of the universe is available at any given moment for me to tap into. Now, because I speak that definition over myself on a daily basis, and I not only speak it by it, but I imagine it, and again, that's another whole Sunday session. Not only do I imagine it, but I speak it out and I hear it. That truth, because it is a truth, grows in my life. Because truth doesn't return void. Love doesn't return void. If you're sowing truth into your life, it has no choice but to grow. But to say it once and walk away from it, does a relationship work that way? Exactly. So it is about building a relationship with Spirit. There are 101 ways to get there. There are 101 modalities that are out there. But the thing that we need to understand is, as human beings, our desire is that we need to know. We need to define something. We need to work out how it is before we can actually move forward. And it's letting go of that will actually connect you to Spirit. That experience that I had when I was 8 years old had nothing to do with how the situation was. Spirit didn't tell me at that particular point how to rectify the situation. As far as I know, I didn't even know whether Spirit knew about the situation or not. All it was about was bringing me love and letting me know that there was support there. And as soon as I did that, I received insight how to deal with the situation.
And not topping yourself.
And not topping myself, absolutely. Absolutely. But in saying that, there were many times throughout my life, especially my younger life, that I did want to do myself in. It was all too hard. It was all too hard. So this wasn't an epiphany at 8 years old. It was an experience that moved me closer to relationship with Spirit. My issue was that I had so many people around me telling me what my relationship with Spirit was supposed to be like. They said to me, this is the way you have to be. This is the way you worship. This is the way you pray. This is how you talk to God. This is how you get what you want out of God. This is the way you have to behave. Otherwise, God will have you burn in hell for eternity. So I was still at 8 years of age struggling with the dogma and the rules and the conditions that were enforced on me as a child. But then Spirit showed up and gave me a glimpse. And then I kept struggling, but not as badly. Then Spirit showed up and gave me a glimpse. And then I kept struggling, but again came closer to relationship with Spirit. And then when I was 33, the relationship came in a much, much fuller way. Do I know it all? Absolutely not. Can I stand here and describe Spirit to you with English and vowels and consonants? No. Words can't express what Spirit or God or the collective consciousness is. This goes so far beyond the mental mind. There are 3 aspects to our being, or 3 dimensions to our being that we need to understand. We've got the soul, we've got the mind, or we could say the identity, and then we've got the body. Now again, I want to make sure you guys don't get caught up in words. I actually believe the ego is the body. My reason for that is your ego is the way that you express yourself in the world. Some people say that the identity or the mind is the ego. You know what? Doesn't matter. Just absorb the diagram and you'll see the truth in what I'm sharing. For you to have a connection to Spirit, you actually need to understand how these 3 parts work within you. Because if you don't, you're never going to get the connection that we're looking for. Hence, we're not going to move forward in having life and life in abundance. So, you've got your soul. We could call that your spirit, your higher self. This is the part that communicates with God or communicates with Spirit. You've got your mind. The mind is all about needing to know. And the body is all about the way you express yourself. Hence what I'm wearing, the way that I move my hands around, the way that I do my hair, the way that I speak, blah, 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 blah. That's what the body is all about. Now, unfortunately, so many people don't understand this, which again just comes back to feeling separate, feeling isolated, feeling alone, and not moving forward in life. It requires these three parts in balance and in understanding for you to live a life and live a life abundantly. If you don't have a body, are you alive? No. If you don't have a mind, are you physically alive? No. So it requires all three parts. So if we were to cut this out, we'd be dead. If we were to cut this out, we'd be dead. Or dead, we'd be back to being simply a soul or a spirit being. So destroying the ego is the wrong way to go. What we need to understand, or destroying the identity, what we need to understand is we've been given these things as tools to use while we're having a separate experience of life. The issue with mankind is as we awaken, it's changing slowly but surely, but the majority of us are living through our mind. Our mind needs to know, we need to define it, we need to work out how it is, and then we can move forward. It's all about gaining knowledge. More knowledge. Knowledge and wisdom are two very different things. Two very different things. Wisdom comes from spirit. Knowledge comes from mind. Is there anything wrong with knowledge? Absolutely not. But if you've got knowledge without wisdom, what happens? Destruction, for example, amongst many other things. It's not unless you've got the wisdom that you can actually apply the knowledge in a way that's going to benefit and bring life to mankind, consequently expressing that through the body. So this diagram with this is you. This centerpiece where the three circles overlap is you. You can't remove any of those parts because once you do, you are no longer having a separate experience. Do you get that? You've got this very deep look on your face. So if everybody gets that, I'll move on from there. So there are three parts that make you you. This is what communicates with God or spirit. This is the essence of who you are. This is the part of you that's a part of God, your soul. Your mind is the part of you that is, it's basically the computer. Whatever you put into the computer is what you're going to get out of the computer. So you're going to either listen to what's around you or what man tells you or what you read, or you're going to do a combination and listen to spirit and use the knowledge and the wisdom that you have to put into the computer what you want to produce an abundant life. So the soul, what do you believe your soul wants to create for your life?
True.
Yep. What else? Sorry? Happiness, truth, happiness, absolutely. So if you were to take truth and you were to take happiness and you were to take all those wonderful things, could we encompass them in the word freedom?
Yeah.
Cool. So your soul wants to create freedom.
Oh, what's right for me?
Absolutely. Well, when you say right for you, I'm assuming you're referring to what allows you to be free. The freedom to be all that you are.
Freedom to be the best you can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The freedom to be the best that you can. So what does your mind or your ego want to create?
Whatever you've been programmed to do.
It does. But what's it about producing in your life? Your soul's about producing freedom. And with freedom comes abundance, comes grace, comes life, comes truth. All those things come out of freedom. So what is the thing that your mind actually wants to establish, or your ego wants to establish for you? Now the reason why your mind or your ego wants to create safety. Now this is we're coming from a perspective here that you're not communicating with your soul. You're not connected to spirit. So if you're not communicating with your soul and you're not connected with spirit, what your mind is set out to do is to create safety. I need to do this so I have money. If I don't have money, this was what will happen. I can't do that because that's going to cause me pain. Your mind is all about, your mind and your ego is all about creating safety for your world. Now, if you're creating safety for your world, now I'm not talking about, this is where people like you guys who are here today, because most of you, well, you guys do have a connection to spirit. But in understanding this, if you have a connection to spirit, spirit will say, don't go down that path. Fear will say, I can't because the consequence is this. Do you get what I'm saying? Spirit will lead and guide you. Your mind will cause you to panic, for example. I'm actually jumping ahead of myself. But, let's jump ahead. If the mind or the ego is trying to produce safety in your life, what's it working out of? What emotion is it working out of? Bingo. Well done, Claire. Fear. What's this working out of? So, your mind is creating safety, which works out of the emotion of fear. Your soul is working out of freedom, which is the emotion of love. This brings life. Actually, let me read this to you because I find this speaks volumes. Love grants freedom, fear takes it away. Love invites full expression, fear punishes it. Love invites to break through the bounds of ignorance, fear feeds on ignorance. So all we need to do, as far as asking ourselves where life is going or what reaction is coming up out of me here, is what am I operating out of? Am I operating out of fear or out of love? Love will automatically connect you to spirit. Love will automatically, every single time, connect you back to spirit. Because it has no conditions, it has no rules. There is no way it has to be. There is no right or wrong. Everything is as it is. Whereas fear says there's a way it must be. See the difference between the two? To give you an example, love grants freedom, fear takes it away. When I experienced, let's go back to that situation of when I was 8 years old. I was frightened. I was absolutely petrified of what was going on around me, and I was not coping with life. Life was too hard. Everyone was against me, and I couldn't make anything work. What did I want to do? I wanted to take my own life. What does fear do? Fear takes it away. Get it? Then I experienced spirit, which is love. What did spirit do? Grants me freedom. It's okay. Here to support you. You're loved. Following me? If we look at love invites full expression, fear punishes it. When I was 33 and I just came into that knowing of who I am and what I am connected to, I was able to come out of the closet. I was able to stand as a gay man, and all that expression was for me. I was able to be connected in spirit and walk in freedom. But what did people around me do? They reacted. Why did they react? They reacted out of fear because they don't know. They reacted out of fear because man has told them from a religious perspective that if I am a gay man, I am going to burn in hell for eternity. It was fear that stopped me for 33 years living the truth of who I am. And then love comes along, or spirit comes along, and invites full expression. It's powerful. It is just such powerful stuff. Love invites breakthrough through the bounds of ignorance. Fear feeds on ignorance. Have you ever seen a person who is living out of a place of love and freedom have a conversation with someone who's a fanatical religious person? Have you ever seen that? I've seen a hell of a lot of it in my life, let me tell you. It actually used to be my job to take the children out of the room when my grandparents started fighting with my parents as to who was right and wrong. If we look at the fact that love invites breakthrough through the bonds of ignorance, I grew up in church circles, in the Pentecostal circles. There was a connection of spirit to some regard. And it was by my own searching and my own seeking out that I was able to broaden my mind and have a bigger connection to spirit to come to a place of knowing spirit in a much deeper way. So that's what I'm referring to when love invites that breakthrough. If we look at it from a fear perspective, fear feeds on ignorance. I know someone who will remain nameless, but they are so much in fear and in such a level of ignorance that they are out to convert me or save me from my homosexual ways, because I will burn in hell for eternity. Now, is that bringing connection between us? No. Is that bringing life? No. What's it based on? Fear. It's just so simple. And this is why so many people just don't get this stuff, because it is just so very, very, very simple. So love is a connection to spirit. Fear is a disconnection from spirit. If I love you, I set you free. If I can cause or instill fear in you, I can control you. How powerful is that? What do so many leaders of different religions do? Exactly. Not only in religion, but look at government. Look at what's going on in the world. If I can instill fear in you, I can control you. Well, you know what? If you've got a connection to spirit, no man can control you, because you're not living a life that comes from a place of fear. Does that mean you're Superman or Wonder Woman and you're going to get it right 100% of the time? No, because you're here having a separate experience. We're only going for 51% plus, and we're on a winner. But the wonderful thing is, once you've got that connection to spirit, it doesn't matter what circumstance you're in, you can always come back to that connection with spirit. That connection is always there and always available to you. Now, here's another thought on that note. Some people have said to me in the past, well, does that mean I have to walk with spirit 24 hours a day? That would be absolutely lovely. Do I have to walk with spirit and act as spirit 24 hours a day? That would be lovely. But it's not humanly impossible. Sorry, it's not humanly possible. Why is it not humanly possible? Because you're here having a separate experience. If you were to live 24 hours a day, living and breathing spirit, what's the point of being here? So I come back to what I said earlier, that it's about having a separate experience whilst knowing that you are connected to all things through all time and space. Therein lies the key. Having that separate experience whilst knowing that you have a connection and are a part of spirit. That's when life becomes powerful, that's when life becomes fun, and that's when the opportunities become absolutely endless. Now, to share another experience with you on those notes, I went to South Africa last year, and in my first overseas trip was an incredible experience. And my dearest friend,
Ever?
my first travel overseas ever, yeah. And my dearest friend Ollie, the last day I was there, said, I want to take you up to Lion's Head. And I said, well, I need to be a little bit careful, because there's a few things in regards to my body that don't function that great, like my knees. How hard is this walk? He goes, it's been ages since I've been on it, but I reckon it's pretty well fine. I said, okay, cool, well, let's go. So me being the gay man that I am, and quite a fashion guru, I like to think anyway, I had the suit jacket on, a nice chocolate brown, nice avocado green pants, beautiful shoes, and we start walking up this mountain, and I'm wondering why people are looking at me quite strangely as they're coming down the mountain. Well, the further we got to up the mountain, the steeper it got. Anyway, we got to a point where in Australia you would actually not be legally allowed to climb the mountain unless you had a harness, safety gear, and someone who knew what they were doing. So guess what rose up in me? Fear. And fear like you would not believe. So I thought, well, what do I do here? Do I turn around and go back and leave my friends to do their journey? Or do I just connect to spirit and see what happens? So I chose to connect to spirit. I chose to practice everything that I have ever learned about being present in the given moment. And I simply took one step at a time, and what felt like spirit was surrounding me. Just be present and take one step at a time. I'm here with you. So after a lot of wrestling with the fear because I'm human. You cut me, I bleed, right? I have a mind. So that wrestle does go on. But it's like, yes, okay, fear, I hear you, but I want to walk in love and I want to have an abundant life. I can do this. Look at all the other people that are doing this. So it's almost like understanding that duality that runs between you, having that conversation and moving forward. So I got to the top. I actually got to the top of the mountain, which was wonderful. My friend Oliver then pulls out the chicken and the champagne. He said, let me pour you a drink. And I looked at him and I said, my dear friend Oliver, I cannot drink or eat because you've got no idea what that took for me to do. I just need to sit in awe of what I have actually just accomplished. Because for me, it was huge. It was absolutely huge. There were points in climbing that mountain where there was a sheer drop. You slip, you die. It's that simple. I then proceeded to ask him, do helicopters come up here? And he said, why? I said, because if they do, I actually don't mind what it costs. I'd rather get a helicopter up here to get me down. So again, I just come back to my humanness, right? I conquered the fear, I connected to spirit, I climbed the mountain. I could have done the same thing and gone back down, but no, I was petrified, right? So I'm human. These are the wrestles that we go through. He said, unfortunately, that no, helicopters don't come down. Can I make you a sandwich? No, Ollie, I can't even eat at the moment. I can't even eat. And he goes, why? I said, because I've got to climb down this mountain in the dark. So not only did I have to climb back down, but I had to climb back down in the dark. Now, some of you might be asking, why did you climb this mountain anyway? Apparently, it's one of the very few spots in the world that you can watch the sun set and the moon rise at the same time. And it was the night of a full moon looking over the top of Cape Town. I get goosebumps telling you about it. It was an experience that began, just another dimension of transformation in my life. I accomplished something that I thought was beyond my means. And you can't sit on the top of a mountain watching the sunset and the moon rise without being connected to spirit. It's near impossible. It was breathtakingly beautiful. So once again, I understood the difference between love and fear. What did I want to operate out of?
How about getting back down, John? You have to think.
Oh, how about getting back down? Everyone wants to know how I got back down. Well, I actually, we went back down, and my friends were very gracious on the way back down, as opposed to on the way up. I had some in front of me and some behind me, and it was a cloudless night, and it was a full moon. So the moon, thankfully, gave us a lot of light, and we were on our way down. And what I tend to do, out of fear, just to make light of the situation, I make jokes so we're all laughing. It makes me feel better. It's like, hey, Oliver, I'm a kitchen designer, not a mountain climber. I've already broken 2 nails. This is ridiculous. Why are we doing this? And I caused hysteria on the side of the mountain, but it helped with the atmosphere. We got halfway down, and then somebody realised we were going the wrong way. So again, I had to practice everything that I teach effectively. But we got down, and I had so much adrenaline running through me, and I was so excited and so in awe of what I had accomplished that was so far outside what I thought I was capable of doing that I just wanted to go out and party. Everybody else was exhausted, so we ended up going home and everyone went to bed, and I was sitting there twiddling my thumbs.
Partying with yourself.
I was just partying with myself. But I just realised that when connected to spirit, when connected to love, my life is abundant. I can be vulnerable enough to experience life in all of its fullness. Fear doesn't let you experience life. It takes life away from you. Connection to spirit is what causes one to experience life.
Then we get caught in regret.
Sorry?
Why? We get caught in regret.
We absolutely get caught in regret.
Why didn't I do it?
Absolutely. That's what fear will cause regret. So I guess the next thing to share with you guys is how do we apply this to our lives? And it really is quite simple. Absorb the information in the drawings that I've shown you today and just ask yourself the question as you're going through life. Am I operating out of love or am I operating out of fear? Am I connected to spirit? Now, the incredible thing is, not only do you need to do this when you're walking up the side cliff of a mountain, but you can start doing it in your conversations with people. You can start doing it in relationships. You can start doing it in your workplace. It is just so simple. Am I operating out of love or am I operating out of fear? And I guarantee it will begin to transform your life without a shadow of a doubt. Okay, Claire, this is you on your overseas trip. Okay?
Which one?
Here comes, which one? Here comes fear. There goes fear. Okay? This is what most people do when they come to a basic understanding of this work. Here comes fear. Oh, I can't be frightened. I can't be frightened. I can't be frightened. I can't be frightened. And it consumes you. When feelings come toward you, or people bring things towards you that seem to be in a form of attack and fear arises, it's not about fighting the fear. It's about stepping into love. It's about stepping into a connection with spirit. Because if you fight it, what you're going to do is it will actually end up overwhelming you. It's almost as though you stand there and you go, oh, look, here comes fear. Yes, I'm frightened. There goes fear. It really is that simple. You watch it pass through you rather than fight it. If sadness comes, sadness generally comes up 9 times out of 10 out of fear because we've lost something. So when sadness comes, allow yourself to be sad, but choose the connection to spirit and watch the sadness float on through. If you want to be angry and you want to be emotional, there's no problem with that. Allow the anger to come up in you, but choose connection to spirit and watch the anger dissipate. It's when you acknowledge these feelings and you acknowledge these thoughts that you're in a position of power to take action, to choose. Do I relish in this or do I connect to spirit? And as you connect to spirit, that dissipates. It's not about fighting it anymore. Does that make sense? That's just a really helpful tool that I use to visualize for myself when things come toward me. Very powerful tool. Now, just quickly before we finish off, what I would love to do, I actually forgot to tell you that. I'll share this with you on another Sunday session. Because of my Pentecostal background, and may I just say that I am no longer a part of that belief system, the Pentecostals are very renowned for raising their hands and dancing and clapping and speaking in tongues. Is that when you fall down and get free dinner? I never got the free dinner. Yes.
No, because I don't know anything about the Pentecostal church. So
No, well, this is the interesting thing, which I do want to actually show people and share with people on Sunday sessions. I'm a tongue talker, and I have prayed for people and they've fallen over. It's unbelievably powerful. The funny thing is, when I had my little epiphany when I was 33, and I came out of the closet, I actually thought that all that would be stripped away from me because I was now making a decision to burn in hell for eternity. And then I was quite surprised to find that I could actually still lay hands on the sick and have them healed. I could actually still pray in tongues, and I could still actually have words of prophecy or speak words of wisdom over people's lives. And I've been allowing that to bubble in me now for a number of years. And what Sunday sessions are about for me is also bringing that out without the confines of religion and without the boundaries or conditions of the church. Because it is a very powerful thing. It's just another modality. It's just another way of connecting to spirit, but unbelievably powerful. What made me realize how powerful it was is about 4 years ago, I was sharing a flat here in Elwood with a very dear friend of mine, and there was some article on TV about the Pentecostal church, and she turned to me and she said, "You used to be a part of that, didn't you?" "Yes, I did." She said, "Can you pray in tongues?" I said, "Yes." She said, do you still pray in tongues? I said, yes, I do. And she said, oh, okay, can you show me how? What comes up? Fear. I don't want to look like a goose. People don't understand this and they don't get this. There's a part of me that doesn't even understand it and get it in its totality. So fear came up. And she kept saying, please show me, please show me, please show me. I said, you know what? All right, I will. So I showed her how to pray in tongues and what it was for. It's pretty much, to sum it up, it's just something for your mind to play with while you connect to spirit. It's that simple. And the wonderful thing is when we're happy to look like a fool, the ego just falls aside. It just falls aside. So I got all excited because she started praying in tongues. Here I was, apparently a sinner and going to burn in hell, and I just showed someone how to pray in tongues. And she loved it and she could see the benefit of it. So I said to her, okay, so now do you want to see what it's like when you fall over? She said, yeah, okay. So I stood her up. I put my hand just over her head. I didn't touch her. And I said to her, I need you to grab my arm should you fall because I've got no one to catch you. Because in the Pentecostal church, we've got things such as, we call them catches. So I just said to her, I'm going to pray in tongues. If I get a word of wisdom that I need to share with you in English, I will. But all I want you to do is to imagine waves of the love of God flowing over you, and they're coming out of my hand. Just imagine the waves of love, or imagine a beam of light coming out of my hand. But this is what causes you to be connected to all things. Within seconds, she began to fall and grabbed me. It's just surrendering. As when you see the Pentecostals raise their hand, it's a physical expression of what they're doing spiritually. They're surrendering, or they want to receive. So the things that we see, we're often in fear of them, so we will rebuke them, or we will say that they're foolishness, or we will fight them. But they're actually very, very, very powerful tools. Are they right or are they wrong? Neither. They just are. Try it. If it works and it connects you to spirit, great. If it's not your cup of tea, there's 101 other ways to connect to spirit. But the wonderful thing about talking in tongues is it shuts the mind up. That's the great thing, because a lot of people have a hard time in meditation stilling the mind. Praying in tongues gives the mind something to play with while you connect to spirit. Because this physical being that's sitting here in this room is not the essence of who you are. This is your separateness. This is your experience here in life. The essence of who you are goes well beyond that. Now, on my website, I'm going to be uploading different YouTubes that I have found from a scientific perspective. Science is catching up with all this stuff. The essence of who you are actually expands outside of you at least 2.5 meters either end. So when you walk into a room, your energy walks into a room. So can you imagine the impact that we can have on the world if we choose to be connected to spirit and walk in love? When your presence walks into a room, what I love to do is I actually imagine myself, as I step onto someone's front porch, I imagine ripples. Like when you drop a pebble into the water, I imagine ripples going out. And not of my power, because me, as a separate entity, I don't have any power. But as a force connected to spirit, I can shift things. So when I walk into a place, the universe makes way for me. People make way for me. And it's got nothing to do with power and control. It's got to do that the only thing I want around me is love. If it's not love and it's not of spirit, I don't want it around me. So I command it to move. On another Sunday session, otherwise we'll go on for ages, I could even talk to you about spiritual warfare. It's just, there's so much I've experienced in my life. But understanding the connection to spirit and what love is, it's powerful stuff. Powerful, powerful stuff.